Hello and good evening and welcome to the show. This is Majority Caucus with me, Ali Dawood. Tonight we would look at the topic regarding the general attitude of workers in Ghana as expressed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on May Day, that was yesterday. And despite the rain, the workers defied it and were there in their numbers. Kudos to all those who were there and all working people in Ghana, whether or not you are part of the organized labor, a farmer, seamstress, all of them. We applaud you very, very much. You're doing a great job for Mother Ghana. But quite apart from that, the president expressed some worrying concerns, one of which he highlighted that they should stop using strikes, as a means of negotiation, and that we should all learn to play by the rules. And I couldn't agree more with him, because you can only have a decent country when people within that country are governed by the rules and regulations that they themselves have set upon themselves. But before we do that, there has been a worrying trend that I have observed over the years, or if you like, since the court case started. A typical situation and question is the pension by one of, I don't really know if he's a lawyer, honestly, because I do not think a lawyer will behave the way he does. I'm talking about Yabo Abina Samoa. Report has it that he was recorded on one sister radio station, making very disparaging comments about Chachu and his lawyering skills. It is his view that Chachu is not making sense at all in the courtroom. And as much as this sounds very repugnant to your ears, believe me, I find it very, very, very disconcerting. And to that extent, I will put it to Chachu. No, I will put it to Yabo Abin rather, straight, unequivocally, that if Chachu does not make sense, then I'm sure that in Ghana we have no more sensible persons in the country. If Chachu doesn't make sense, certainly the alternative is not Yabo Abina Samoa, because since I started listening to political debate, paying attention to details, Yabo Abina Samoa has never come across as an intelligent person, as somebody who makes cogent argument, as somebody who speaks sense. He doesn't. And I shudder to think that he's a lawyer. I mean, I struggle. I don't know even when he was called to the bar. And to talk of experience, I'm sure that Yabo Abina Samoa is nowhere near Chachu. He must be comparing Chachu to the likes of Akufo-Addo. That is, if his certificate is still not in question, and that the name recorded on the rule of lawyers is indeed his name, then those are the people he needs to compare them with. Sadly, not Yabo Abina Samoa. If he thinks that there's going to be something beneficial from attacking the credibility of Chachu, thinking that this is a strategy to pull him down, this is a strategy to mar the otherwise beautiful proceedings that all of us are bearing witnesses to on Ghana television, he has another thing coming. Yabo Abina Samoa, you might want to revise your notes. You might want to revise your strategy. This conduct you are putting up is very shameful. You cannot be a lawyer and be acting in the manner that you do. I do not. In fact, I'm not surprised why you are not even part of the MPP legal team in court, because when they are being addressed by their names in court, you are certainly not part of them. And now I understand why. You are probably a disgrace to the bar. Your name rather should be struck off the rule of lawyers. Enough of that. I have my guests in the studio. They have more to add. Tonight I have been joined in by very, very wonderful people. They do not want me to address them by special assistance, of course. Yeah, I have Wanda Madilo. He's a member of government communication team. And also have Broja Jemfi, Yao Broja Jemfi, also a youth activist of the NDC. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time here.
Thank you.
Quickly, before we delve into the statement of excellency on May Day, just quick, your opinion on the court processes so far, just briefly. Yeah.
Well, I think
and the comment
so
made outside by the likes of
I believe so far so good. I mean, a lot of us were expecting that this court case was going to take so long. I mean, that has been the proposal from many courts, that it was going to take 4 years, 5 years, and all that. But I think that the justices have shown some level of understanding of the whole process, and they've been able to streamline the process, and so things are going on as expected. And you can see the embarrassment Bawumia is causing himself. At one point, it's not being used in the analysis. At another point, we have duplicate pin sheets that are electronically generated. Some are manually generated, and all that. At the end of the day, we're seeing all kinds of confusion. At one point, we'll agree that okay, this one might come with a little irregularity. That one is heavy and all that. And then you see the trend of the pink sheet that they have brought forward. You will observe a trend. The trend is such that anytime he's asked to mention the votes count on the pink sheet, you realize that John Mahama is ahead of Nanadu, where you have 540, they have 200 and something. And so you will observe that they have only gone for areas in which John Mahama won, and then that's the only area they have problems with. And so it's sheer hypocrisy. It is sheer, an attempt to gag the voters, and also an attempt to whitewash what is the truth. Truth is truth. I mean, you can't be hidden. And we're seeing the processes unfold with time. I am very much impressed with Tony Lita, Kwashi Aidan, and then Chachu Chikata, the almighty Chachu Chikata, and the level, the depth with which he's taking his questions, and the patience with which he expects his answers. And you don't find that, especially when even the Philip Addison was cross-examining Bawumia. Virtually, I could not see the flow. I mean, he was trying hard, to put a message across. Yeah. But you see, Chachu was very relaxed, Tony was very relaxed, Aidan was very relaxed, and then they took the questions one after the other. And Bawumia is eventually disgracing himself, because if you told us from the beginning that it was used once in analysis and that there could not have been an electronic and then a manual generation, at the end of the day today you are being shown two electronics, and then you say that one is not being used twice. Two manuals, you say it's not being used. When they put the two, you say it's not being used. So you don't really get the whole understanding. As for the likes of Sir John and Bawumia Samoa and their comments, the little said about them, the better. You can see clearly from the MPP side that the two people who are talking is Bawumia Samoa and Sir John. Do they have anything in common? They are both lawyers, we are told. If they have their names in the role of lawyers. I have listened to Bawumia Samoa make some reckless statement, and I'm saying that Bawumia Samoa actually has brought too much disgrace to the MPP than it used to be. I mean, we would have expected that the likes of Bawumia Samoa would have brought some decorum, some discussion, civility to the MPP, and as they have always trumpeted to be the party that has the flair and they believe in democratic credentials. You would have expected them that they toed that line. But unfortunately for us, the lawyers, the supposed lawyers, people have not seen in court before. I am told. Somebody called me on my way to this place that the only court case Bawumia Samoa sat on was a KVIP that was seized from the owner by the state. And then
but did he even win that one?
No, the case was thrown out. I mean, he couldn't even file the case properly, and it was thrown out. And I of course, he's attempted. I am not a lawyer, so you can credit him with the fact that at least he attempted bringing the case before the court, and he in defense of their people. So these are just some of the diversionary tactics, and we're seeing it clearly. We are very conscious of that. All I can say is that the president is on course, and he's bent on delivering his Better Ghana agenda, regardless of what the MPP thinks or feels or does at the end of the day. I am only looking for a day that Bawumia Samoa can stand shoulder to shoulder with Chachu to say that he's a lawyer. I have never seen. I mean, I've asked people who are lawyers. You are a young lawyer in the making. I've asked people who have read the law report. They said they didn't even find the name Bawumia. Neither have they find Samoa, let alone the other names that are not on the. So it's bad. It's bad omen for them. I recall, prior to the elections when Kennedy Japan made this comment. You remember one of the MPP guys who were arrested for misbehavior at the premises of the BNI was Bawumia Samoa. So maybe, it's just one of those activities that is always engaged in trying to, come to the limelight. I know he doesn't have a hold in the MPP. If you read Bawumia Samoa's profile, the only job he has ever held in this country, as his profile, corporate profile, is the Deputy Communication Director for the NPP, and then becoming a spokesperson for Bawumia. And this is just within the period of 3 months to the elections. And so you can understand his psychic, you can understand his relation with the business community, you can understand his relation with life and even the political environment. So he is somebody who is desperate to virtually keep his name on the lips of MPP. Well, nobody sees him in the MPP. I don't know him. I know the likes of Dangote and the others, McMenu. Those are the people who make the MPP, not Bobby Asamoah. So the least said about him, the better.
Okay, let me come to Broja Jefi. Clearly, Abuabin Asamoah has bitten more than he could chew. I don't think that he is appreciating the effects of his reckless conduct. I want to know your perception about this whole court processes regarding the comments that are made outside.
Well, let me just put it in a summary, my opinion about what is going on. I think that if any young man like Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is given the opportunity to partner a presidential candidate to be elected as vice president, the person looking at what is going on in court would spend much more time in campaigning and sending out a message that will bring votes rather than follow it up when you have been defeated and go and sit in the witness box and follow such embarrassment. And I think it's an advice to anybody at all. We have not gotten there yet, but I'm sure that one day if we get the opportunity to be running mates or even presidential candidate, we will spend much more time on campaigning and being vigilant. You know, in the NDC Congress in Kumasi, the president said something that the MPP went insulting him and all that. The president said, in these elections, we have to be vigilant and not violent. Their focus was on somebody is coming to pick ballot box, we have to chase this person or die be die and all that. You understand? They are now in court. And when questions are being asked about polling agents, all Bawumia could say is that you and I were not there. You understand? The judges were not there. The lawyers were not there. Nobody in the courtroom were there. And when the EC that conducted the elections are giving explanations, you say you won't take it. So, I mean, do we by magic get to know what went on at the polling station because we were all not there? What is going on telly? Each day of the Supreme Court on television is an indictment on the leadership of the MPP. We have come from the strong base of the MPP. I'm talking about Kumasi. So we hear what people say. What actually the MPP told their supporters is not what is happening in court. And I think that is not in doubt. They told them that John Mahama has stolen the elections. When Tony later put it to Bawumia whether they have come to court because John Mahama has stolen, he said no, it's the EC. John Mahama is innocent. You understand? They said we're changing some figures at Superlux, and they went there with, I think Bawumia Asamoah also followed Auku and all those guys. You understand?
Yeah.
When Chachu put to Bawumia, he said, "Oh, we have dropped that." You get so. Yes. What they told their supporters is different from what is going on in court. So each day, I am very glad that the thing is on television. Each day of what is on television, the NPP leadership surface. And I have proposed that we are talking about productivity. Joy News Channel, they are always showing it, they are losing money. GTV is losing money, TV3, and all other TV stations, even including radio stations. Yeah. I think that we must come to a point where all the parties involved will agree that whoever loses this case will foot the bill of all these things that are going on television.
Even in court, it's a normal process.
You understand? Yeah. So that is what is going on in court. But with Abuabin Asamoah, it is not only Abuabin Asamoah. Even Sejon usually would come up like that. The NPP have always told us that they had the men. Yeah. They told us they had the men. When they were telling us that they had the men, I'm not sure any MPP member knew Bawumia. Bawumia didn't even have MPP party card. Never. Philip Addison, nobody had heard of him. I don't know if even he's a member of the MPP. Yeah. But you see the face of the court case now tells you that the kind of exaggeration that the NPP has given us about their people is nowhere to be found. Where are the men?
I can't see them.
We want somebody to be in the box. And we are calling Bawumia, who probably did not even have an MPP card when they were saying they had the men. Maybe they were now grooming him. Philip Addison is also a strange person in the circles of the MPP. So they are losing it out. You understand? So sometimes they become frustrated. When somebody attacked Chachu, I asked the person, when Chachu stood up to talk or cross-examine Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, what didn't happen in court? People were shaking in their chairs.
Very alert.
You understand?
For the first time, they stopped laughing.
The fear factor. If, to the extent that the Philip Addison had to rise and say he objected to Chachu cross-examining. Yes. So if Chachu was a useless person, at least they were laughing at lawyers who were sweating in court and all that. So they should have, allowed Chachu to go on with this cross-examination. What Chachu is doing is very, very important to the case. Indeed, if you study what Chachu has gone through, you would realize that a lot of the people on the bench, they say they're on the bench, right? Yeah. Were his classmates. Yeah. Let me put it that way. You understand? And I have listened to
Chachu taught Sir John. I have been informed.
Well, I have heard about Alan Chemartin and a whole lot of people. But you see, I have heard lawyers on public record who have said that they are lucky to see great men like Chachu Chekata stand in court and, deliver on a case. Yes, it's not easy to see it. So when lawyers are even watching it on television, they are satisfied that they are getting something from it. MPP lawyers and a lot of lawyers are making notes. We are happy, we are glad, and we are, let me say, lucky to have had Chachu Smith, who is Nana Akufo-Addo. They were all called to the bar 1975. Maybe Nanado came on his own.
Yeah,
I think that those issues, exactly. So would have been lucky, or let me say luckier, to have Chachu and Nana Akufo-Addo both, battling it out in court. You understand? The constitution that the MPP stood on to go to court, did they say specifically who and who should go to court? No. So I think that Nana Akufo-Addo should have allowed his nephew, Gabi Asare-Chedakun, to be the petitioner, so that Nanado would defend this case. Yeah. You understand? But for whatever reason, best known to them, they decided to stay behind and push some people. From where I come from, we say enimguase mfata kaniba. So probably they have their own they have their own agenda of pushing all those things through. So that's what I see going on in the Supreme Court. And I'm very happy that Chachu is pushing Bawumia to admit to a lot of
many
exactly. You have made errors, you have sent it to the Supreme Court. And when the EC makes an error, you are saying when it affects somebody's president. Who has a presidency in Ghana? Nobody. You understand? You are saying when it affects somebody's presidency, we shouldn't allow it. You are an up-and-coming lawyer. They say, with the little law we studied, they say, he who comes to equity. So if you are coming to seek for justice on errors, and you yourself come with errors. You understand? So what Chachu is doing, I'm sure they themselves are aware where Chachu will be arriving at. And it will be a good thing for all of us.
The justices of the court to determine. And then you tie in with the president's statement on media.
Okay, one very good development on this whole petition is Bonan Mona's winning of his petition at the Supreme Court. And I think it's very good for our democracy. The situation where the Constitution contradicts itself, which says that, of course, if the Supreme Court takes a decision, you have a right to appeal. Yeah. And in this particular CI 74-75, I don't know. They say no, it cannot happen. But and public holidays and all that. So I think that it is a good development for our democracy. One. It is also a good development for the case in court. At least we know that if the MPP loses, they have a right to appeal, and they will appeal again. I know they will appeal. They are litigants. They will appeal. Look, by the MPP constitution, they're supposed to be going to Congress anytime soon. Are you aware?
Yeah.
But nothing is happening on the ground because some people want to have a hold of the party. Some people want to be made flag bearers at all costs. Some people want to be made, party executives at all costs.
Candidates
Yeah,
at
some
all
want to
costs.
be presidential executives at all costs. So they are holding the whole party to ransom. I have spoken to a few of their, big men, quote unquote, and they are very disappointed in the way manner all these things going on. You have lost elections 2 times. Just go home and sleep and offer advice to the young ones. I know Baumia, granted that Nanado is alive. If Nanado is to be alive, I mean, God forbid that he dies, he will not give Baumia a chance to become the flag bearer. He will still make him his running mate. And so Baumia, wise up. I understand. Understand
happy about as an NDC youth activist is that the MPP reorganized their party earlier than the NDC in 2009. The NDC has put in motion structures and systems that we have started reorganizing our party from the branch level to the constituency and to the region and national. And it will end this year. The MPP have virtually grounded their party machinery because of this court case. You understand? Nothing is working. You get it, and I think it's good for them.
There's going to be a serious uproar very soon to come. Let's come to
the issue of governance.
Yes,
I believe that the president has shown consistency in his delivery with respect to this administration. It is on record that the president is the first president in the Fourth Republic to have put together a cabinet. I mean, a ministerial cabinet. In record time. In the days of President Kufuor, as late as July, he was still making appointments to the presidency and then to the ministerial appointment. And so this is one of the biggest achievements that I've seen the president deliver. Issue of power, of course, we have had several challenges within this short period. He is one of the few presidents that have been confronted with gargantuan challenges right from the day of start of office until now. And he's dealt with it. The UTAG strike, the NAGRA strike, the NAT strike, all that have been brought under control. What we are battling with right now is a GMA strike and GOSPA. And I believe that there are a lot of discussions underway to get these things resolved. Now, looking forward, I'm saying all this because it's related to the May Day celebration. There are worker agitations and all that. And I was so very much excited to hear the president say that we needn't take this opportunity as Ghanaians for granted, one. Why? Because we also have to be conscious of the public purse and all these strike agitations. It advise all of us to be resolute in our demands and in being resolute, we also have to look for the national picture, which is the fact that we have said and we have realized that the meat is down to the bone. The president has acknowledged that already. And so, way forward, what do we do? I am very much excited. Way back in the President's State of the Nation address and in the budget, he's already indicated that he's willing to take off people on the Article 71, threshold or platform, all the way to the single spine platform, and that is not in doubt. The President has already indicated that. So when you heard Kofi Asamoah of the TUC advocate for parliamentarians, judges, and all those Article 71 holders come on board the single spine, it is a good call, and I think that the president,
the minority leader would disagree with you. He thinks that is a sharing of poverty. Instead of making life better, we are rather sharing poverty.
I heard him make that comment, and I think that it was unfortunate. It was unfortunate because it is the same parliament that actually ratified this whole single spine policy. And if it is Parliament that rectified it, I feel very disgraced for him to come out and say that it's sharing of poverty. I don't believe in sharing of poverty. I have a few cousins who are on the single spine salary structure, and they tell me it's good. It's better than what we used to have in the past, the universal salary structure, the USSN and all that. So it is actually a departure away from some self-seeking Ghanaians, some self-seeking people who are in power, who are in control of the public purse, to spend the money the way they want it. This allows for equity. I know that the single spine allows for equity. It also allows for the recognition of risk in jobs. That's why you cannot see a policeman take the same salary, perhaps, as a teacher or somebody else, because the risk involved in the policeman's job or the military man's job is so high that he goes to work, he might never come back to home. And that is factored in calculating your premium and all that. And so we need, as a country, going forward, to take a very concerted effort addressing all these issues forward. And also, you see the pushing of some of the labor agitations. It has to do with some political inclinations. I don't understand how
true is that that rumor.
Well, you can
really.
see, for instance, and you don't want to go on such tangents. Forgive me if I'm going on such tangents.
But is it true that Kwabena Poku Eduse, who is the president of the GMA, did he have a hand in the drafting of manifesto of the MPP in 2012? I have heard rumors.
Well, from drafts that we've all seen on the internet, and people they've consulted and all that. Yeah, they've consulted and all that. He was consulted as well. We in the NDC, when we were doing our manifesto on health, we consulted Ghana Health Service, we consulted Ministry of Health, and we also consulted donor partners, and then the MDGs in drafting our manifesto. But they chose to consult him as an individual. I don't know what motive, what reason they want to give that, but that's left to them. And we don't want to go on the such tangents. We just want to appeal to them that the life of Ghanaians is at stake. Now, listen to this. It is only we've all been to the university, and you see how medical students are treated. They are carried from Legon all the way to medical school, in and out. They are guaranteed, a place on campus. In fact, they are paid allowances for studying, just like teachers.
They get all the inner rooms,
of course, and they get the inner rooms. They get all the beautiful things that happen. Yeah. They have TV in their rooms. I mean, there's some luxury of it. I wanted to do medicine. I didn't get a chance, and I had to go into business administration. And so, you see, the doctors must first of all recognize government's input in their life. It costs about $60,000 to train one medical doctor, and they paid virtually no cost for such treatments. And government takes them abroad, gives them training and all that. You will expect that when they come back, they give up their best, and that's all we want from them as Ghanaians. And I think that they need to wake up to some of those calls. Again, you look at the running of all these public hospitals, and you'll observe that in the private hospitals, like say Lister, just using the word Lister. For instance, they buy their medical equipment, they pay their staff, the utility is taken care of, and all that out of monies they realize from consultation and then drug and then admissions and all that. And this largely comes from the NHIS, that is the National Health Insurance, because they have been accepted onto the National Health Insurance platform. Okay. Then you have our government hospitals, the district hospitals, the public hospitals, and then the big ones, Comfort and all the others. They are also running the same system, charging patients for the same job, and government again goes to supply the medical equipments, pay their utilities, pay doctors and all that, and still they're running at a cost. And I feel very, very worried for our country here, because if the same process is used in the private sector and they are succeeding, why is it not succeeding in the public sector? And I think that is a worrying trend. We need, as a country, looking forward to make these hospitals self-sustainable. I have always advocated that, for instance, the public universities, Legon, UDS, and all the other, they should be made autonomous, such that government puts no funding in them. Yes. Let them be able to run their budget such that they can be able to generate funds to run the university. For how long will government be paying subsidies to universities?
I even wonder the IGF, they are internally generated funds. Where does it go?
Sometimes you listen, anytime they go to the Public Accounts Committee and they make presentations, I know institutions in this country that are saving billions in the name of IGF, and most of their second degree programs are fee paying. And for instance, I don't want to use myself as an example. People doing EPM, economic policy management, are paying $7,000 for a year program. $7,000 is 14,000 flat. And you can understand how many people are in class. They have about 100 people in that class. So the institutions are actually making a lot of money, but we're not seeing that money reflect in the future development of this hospital. Paying doctors, paying nurses, paying ward assistants, taking care of the bills of the hospital, the utilities, the electricity, the water. Everything again boils down to government. And I feel very disappointed. Look at Kolebu. We could have about 7 or 8 boreholes on that premises, and that should take care of all the water needs of that place. But yet, they are relying on POM to carry water all the way from POM to Kolebu. And if that doesn't happen, it's a problem. If the lift is not working, they say it's government. And so, I feel very worried for government. How much will government make such that you can take care of
hospital
all
administration?
These
I wonder what they do.
So, that's a problem. Looking forward, if I was a president, and I believe that one day God granted a chance, and beyond even that, I believe that our president is up to the task to do that job. And he's up to the task to eliminate all these excesses from the system. Then we can have a very transparent,
sip some water. I'll come back to you. Roger, we have the importation, in quotes, of Cuban doctors. The argument has been that, hey, this is a sharp response to doctors going on strike. And instead of paying them, we are importing doctors, and that we are being insensitive. But I know of series of memoranda, MOUs that have been signed together with the leadership of GMA, and they only go back on their words. They come and tell us different story on air when they have agreed to payment schedule document before me. I'm sure you've seen all this. What are we seeing in spite of what the president has said? They have snubbed, what do you call it, Obasanjo, Kofi Annan. They just will not listen to anybody. They're just doing what they do.
You know, as for Obasanjo, they have a problem with him already.
Okay.
When I say they, I'm trying to put all of them together, you understand? Because of the AU Observer mission to Ghana. But let me touch on the May Day anniversary before I get into this. What I was happy about reading the president's speech at, I think it was 2nd day, last Wednesday, that is yesterday. The May Day was actually to look at pensions of workers, when workers go on pension, what they are due, how it is organized and all that. We know how the system is scattered and all that. People struggle to get their pensions paid, and even simple documentations, the kind of bureaucracy they go through. So the president touched on pensions. And I was very happy that the president used a number of paragraphs within his speech to explain the new pension scheme that we have. That's the first tier, the second tier, and the third tier. And I would commend the president for that. But I think that the authority in charge of regulating pensions, I think it's National Pensions Regulatory Authority, headed by lawyer Sampiali. They have to do more in terms of getting the message to the people and also organizing the system well so that everything will take off. I know the deductions for all the tiers have started since 2010, and some workers have been raising issues with that. So if lawyer Sampiali is listening, I think that there must be a speedy action to that. So let's commend the president for thinking about workers' pension and all that. And let's also say Ayuko to Ghanaian workers. You understand? Those who have contributed to the success of this nation, and those who are still contributing their quota. I would take a chunk of my commendation to some of the medical doctors. I came from Kumasi, and I know some of the medical doctors. Some of the medical doctors are at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital. Some even at the emergency center, and they are working. You understand? So I commend all of them for that. Specific to agitations and all of those issues that have come up relating to the doctors, some have said it is politically motivated. I would not say so, but in my analysis, if I have to do the calculations, you may arrive at certain conclusions, you understand. Between 2001 and 2008, I have done an extensive search on that. Maybe somebody may prove me wrong. There was no single strike declared by the Ghana Medical Association, not exclusively on its own, between 2001 and 2008. Between all this period, the president of the Ghana Medical Association, what's his name? Poku Edusei. He was the vice president of the Ghana Medical Association. He went ahead to help the MPP draft their manifesto and all that. There were worse issues with their, they call it additional duty hour allowances and all those things. The Ghana Medical Association did not declare a strike. It was a collective of health workers group or something that went on strike. So it becomes very curious, especially when many prominent Ghanaians and world leaders are appealing to them to go back to work. Kofi Annan has spoken. They have snubbed him. They even come to reply to all those appeals.
When you appeal to them, they give you answers.
They give you answers. Obasanjo, let's put his issue aside. The health minister, employment minister, even the first person of the land, the president of the Republic of Ghana, And they come out with all sorts of explanations, even some of them insulting and all that. So if you want to do the analysis, you may get to a conclusion that you're not happy to be on television and say it. But in all this, when the president went to UDS, there was a doctor, junior doctor, who has just been sworn in as a doctor. He said something, I think he was not saying it to the Ghana Medical Association, but it is very important that every doctor, and in fact, every Ghanaian worker, puts that at the back of his mind. He said that every single day that he has is an opportunity to save life. We have sinned against God on many occasions. You understand? We may have fornicated, we may have stolen somebody something, we may have, done things that we expect that God should take our life. But God give us opportunity to repent. You understand? But in addition to repenting, I think that, and I believe that God is giving you an opportunity to do something on earth. So if you are a doctor and God has given you life, in spite of all the beer bottles that you sit in Amakum and enjoy, you understand? God may be giving you the opportunity to help somebody. So if you sit in the house, and sometimes when they are called, they say, we can't sleep. You can't sleep, but you can go and take your salary. Yeah. There are some doctors at the various hospitals working. If you can't sleep, go and join them. Why are you staying in the house? You understand? So many persons have appealed to them. They have failed to listen. And I think that on that note, the media must blacklist the Ghana Medical Association. Because, the general public has appealed to them. They are not ready to listen. So who is ready to listen to them? Who is ready to listen to them? We must all refuse to be listening to. The last time they extended their strike, what was the explanation? What was the explanation? Very childish. That they went to the ministries and ministers did not come to meet them for 2 hours.
And so people should die.
There are patients who have sat in the hospitals waiting for doctors close to 1 month. They have not gone to the patients. And they are saying that because ministers did not attend to them for only 2 hours, they are extending their strike.
And so that is after the agreement has been signed.
Exactly. So some of these issues, if you listen, I think the government is taking steps in addressing it. And if you look at what is going on for the past 1 month, I'm not saying that people should die, but the impact of this strike is zero. I can tell you. Okay. The impact of this strike is zero. Especially because some of their own have defied the orders of the Ghana Medical Association and they are working. Yeah. So if the leadership would want to delude them, if it is only them who are not going to work and want to stay in the house, they should spare us the mind to listen to other news that are very important to all of us.
Important to add is the fact that this has nothing to do with their salaries.
Yeah. That is the point.
They are taking the salary. Yeah.
That is the point.
It's just addition, so small allowances here and there, conversion difference.
And when I hear them, I think one of the medical doctors, he said government did not pay them their food. Was it the TU or I think it's the GME, and that government has paid MPs.
Yes.
You get it? And they are saying that MPs should be put on single spine so that they will all enjoy. Why are the doctors on strike? The last time I watched you and somebody was here to give some explanation, their conversion difference and all that. Because when they were being migrated from their old salary structure to the new single spine salary structure, they have been disadvantaged. So some difference has to be paid to them.
So that's the conversion difference.
That's the conversion difference. That's why they are on strike. Okay. MPs are supposed to be paid some 7,200. And you are saying that is too much, so they should be moved onto the single spine. Remember, when they are being moved, the policy is not supposed to disadvantage anybody.
It's against labor law.
Exactly. So they will come and they will also be asking for the conversion difference.
And we'll have the same problem.
I see. It.
Okay.
Personally, I want to make a call. And I believe that the strike has suffered fatigue. And they themselves, they know. No, I mean,
they need to accelerate the
momentum of the strike. Yes, Ghana Medical Association, I know, the leadership know very well that their strike has suffered some fatigue. And I'm calling on government to cease paying them salaries. If possible.
It's a very popular opinion, I must admit.
If possible, take them out of government facilities. Because we cannot continue paying electricity bill, water bill, taking care of their families
they do is allow
and the
people to
security
die.
and all that. And all they do is sleep and wake up and tell us that they are not
To end
sleeping.
on that note, let me
Government should stop paying them their salaries.
Let me
point
go
to
for a
make.
quick commercial break. When I come back, the discussion continues. The studio indeed is hot with powerful discussions. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. In case you just tune in, you are watching Majority Caucus with me, Ali Dawood, live on your multi-TV, also live across the world on www.multitvworld.com. Bro Jeffrey, you wanted to make some points.
A quick point. You know, doctors have been comparing themselves to MPs.
Yes.
I would like to use the MPs. Maybe you have studied our legislative system for a while. When a member of parliament refuses to go to work for 15 consecutive sittings.
It's 21.
Is it 20? I don't know.
21.
Well, okay, I stand to be corrected. What happens to that member of parliament? Out.
Yes.
And the members of parliament are supposed to be much more important than the doctors in their own assessment.
Yes.
And they have refused to go to work for how many days now?
We're heading to a month or more.
And we can't touch them. Which, for me, the doctors are more important than the parliamentarians.
Even under the essential services. The constitution actually bars them from going on.
And the laws are there. Clever laws of the Labour Act.
Some of these doctors are working with the police hospital and the military hospital.
Yes.
Why is it that they are not going on strike?
I want an explanation for
Why is it that they are not going on strike? It is because they are adhering to strict rules. Even when you are a teacher and you teach within the barracks, you cannot go on strike.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. So what are we doing to reflect that outside the barrack? That is discipline. You understand? Now, I'm sure maybe in a week or two's time, the president will be in Kumasi to cut salt for a military hospital, very big one. Yeah, you get it. We have secured land. The new regional minister has acquired land for the project, I think at Kukum or so, that will have a military hospital there. So when
begin to militarize all the hospitals.
Sometimes you have to take such decisions some in the long term in order to help salvage the situation. You don't know what may happen tomorrow. So it is good that government is doing that. And with the Cuban doctors that are coming in.
I wanted you to comment on that.
We already have a group.
I think there are about slightly over 300, right?
Yeah, Ghana's relationship with Cuba is not something that is new. Okay. We have known about many doctors. They even have an association called La Vanguardia also. Okay. I think the Vanguard. Ghanaians who were trained in Cuba. And they have been very committed to the Ghanaian patients. But the Ghanaian doctors, Ghanaian trained doctors, even look down upon such persons.
Especially some nurses can be very wild.
You understand? So it is good that we take all these measures. Venezuela went through a similar problem where doctors were asking for some imaginable amount of money and all that. What the government did at the time was to sign a contract with the same Cuba that Ghana is taking that step to give Venezuela 500 doctors every year. By the time they realized, there were many doctors. Everybody in Venezuela, you could count one doctor in each house. You understand? So the market premium that they are demanding now went down. You get it? So you can see in the government that is very proactive.
But the question is is this a sustainable strategy? Can we sustain this strategy? But I mean, first of all, the argument is even that they are not even here as in response to the doctors on strike. It is something that I have an idea of. Yeah.
But you see, I think in the short to medium term, it's good. We already have some Cuban doctors. In the system. They are Cubans. They are in the country working. Some are working in the hinterlands, where even you post a Ghanaian doctor, the person would not go. They are already there working. They are Ghanaian trained, they are Ghanaians, Cuban trained doctors who are also in the system working. They are all putting up their best. So in the absence of nothing, I think something is better.
Okay.
It's good that we get.
He asked the question if it's a sustainable, it is sustainable. I have gone through the figures, and then you will observe that even doctors who come from abroad to come and work, the Cuban doctors who come here to work, government spends actually less on them in terms of remuneration, in terms of their upkeep, security, and all that. Paying their utilities and all that, far less than what we spend on our Ghanaian doctors.
And that's $150 per month. I don't know if
it
is true.
No, even beyond that, they see it as service. They see it as service to mankind. Because that's the training they got. I mean, in Cuba, for instance, most of their training institutions, I mean, the medical training institutions, are militarized, such that you go through some basic requirements of the military. You have to go through the basic military training setup and all that, which some people have been calling for, that Ghanaian youth should be allowed to have an experience in military. And so there's some discipline. It's not the case where you think that your parents have money, so you can go to a medical school and then you go and you want to bluff everybody off. No, that's not the case. Whether you rich or poor, the basis for going to the medical school is so open, it's so transparent that everybody can go. Unlike in Ghana here, where you were asked, I mean, at an interview, I was asked, do you have any medical doctor in your family? And I said, no. Then they said, what is your motivation? I'm like, I am motivated by you. And they're like, well, you don't know me.
You don't know me.
And I think that is what made me lose.
I have a lot of friends. There's a similar question
at the interview and all that. But you find out that these are brilliant people. By the grace of God, I'm brilliant. I could have been a very good doctor. But, the activity of one doctor, doctor at a vetting or, whatever, threw me out. So it is important that we broaden the base. I am very happy that the Legon Teaching Hospital is coming up. It's about 500-bed Sita Hospital. It's coming up, so we can expand the medical school. The UCC medical school, University of Cape Coast Medical School is also coming up. They have also acquired a place.
But in training all these doctors,
no, it is when
how are we going to be? How are we going to ensure that they don't come up with the slightest provocation?
Hold on. As government of course, we are learning by the rules. We are learning by the day as a government and as a people and as a nation. So as government takes steps to train more, they must also take steps to keep them in. Because the same constitution that guarantees that they are trained is the same constitution that bars them from going on strike. They are part of the essential services and they cannot go on strike. In fact, they should know that it is actually an illegality. It is actually a crime
the Labour Commission is
to go on strike. The Labour Commission is in court. And it's unfortunate that we have to take a court to court. Of course, the Labour Commission actually has the status of the High Court. Today, the Labour Commission itself is going to court. I mean, it doesn't speak well of the environment in which we operate as a country. The whole world is watching us. I mean, a lot of people are watching. Many people come here. You have a lot of foreigners in our medical school. Why do they come here? Because they feel that we have the skill and the training in order to train them and all that. But we are disappointing a lot of people on the continent, and I think it's unfortunate.
The needed sense of humanity.
We're losing it out, and doctors should come up to this reality.
Just briefly, the president was in London as part of the London Times. Just quickly, as part of your concluding remarks, just a minute each. Yeah,
a minute. Wow.
I
just wanted to make a point.
Oh, yeah, of course, you're allowed to. I'm sure he will grant you
what
this.
What I wanted to talk about is that, you see, the mandate of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission.
Yeah.
They are supposed to work for 5 years, but we are I think it started in 2010, and we are in the middle of that. I think as part of their monitoring and evaluation, even though the project has not yet come to an end, they should find out the corresponding output of Ghanaian workers. And I am suggesting that they use the medical doctors as a case study to how much that they have received on top of their salaries coming on board a single spine salary structure. And we will be well informed whether it is worth it paying huge sums of money to Ghanaian workers, especially, I'm using doctors because they are ranked among the high-paid class of workers on the single spine. You understand? So let me put that there. With the president, I have read what the president went to do in London yesterday, and I think it was all good. The president went in as an African. If you read what he told them, he gave them the opportunities that is in Africa, the prospects, and also cited Ghana as a gateway to Africa. So I think It's well good.
In 30
It
seconds.
will attract some,
Yeah, of
some,
course, of
some
course.
investors.
I believe the president has always given Ghana that, brand, that image, that painting, and or like what we've seen in the past. I mean, we embarrass ourselves as a country on the continent under some leadership. But you can see the trend. I mean, even at the UN when he delivered his speech, you see how he advocated for other countries. And so for me, I think president is on course. He delivers the speech right on point, and then it has substance, unlike what we see in the past.
Absolutely.
Well,
And
35 ministers were sworn in.
Yeah.
how can I forget that? Congratulations to all of them who were there. Congratulations to all of you. Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Joseph Yamin, Felix Kwachi Ofosu, John Jinapo, Anabisu. I mean, all of them. Baba Jama, ABA Fuseni, Dr. Dominic Aini. Congratulations to all of you. I almost
And the
forgot.
president said they should start work tomorrow.
Yeah. So
8
tomorrow,
a.m.
all of them are reporting. He will be there to check, or he'll ensure somebody is there to check.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. I'll be here on Tuesday, inshallah. And be good and stay blessed. Bye-bye.
Right.